Hey everybody, and welcome to Age's Cozy Crochet Corner, where today in the corner we're doing a pocketed shawl. But it's not any pocketed shawl. One of our crochet fam asked if I could do a pocketed shawl with no sew on pockets. So it took me a minute. And I was actually making a Doris shawl pocketed shawl for someone, and I'm like, I really love this. Why can't I just do it in this, but figure out a different way to do it, where we did not sew on the pockets? And so I have it, and I bring it to you, and I hope you guys like it. So we're going to get right to the table, and we're going to create the pocketed no sew Doris pocketed shawl. All right, you guys, let's get to the table. Okay, so we're at the table. So today I'm going to be using Burnt Heart Super Value. And I have I'll use three of these, and it's approximately 426 yards of yarn here. And I had three of these. So the color here is Teal Heather, in case you like the color. And we will be working with a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. So 5.5 millimeter crochet hook and three of these. And we're going to get right into it. Before I show you how the pattern is worked, I want to bring in a portion of the of the shawl. This is super long. We will be chaining 297 in our we'll be making 297 for our foundation chain in order to work this. Why is it so long? Because we will not be adding pockets or making pockets separately. Our pockets are already incorporated in this one piece, and we'll be putting a border here and a border here, because this is the no sew pocket shawl. So we'll be bringing this up and closing this off like that, so we have one complete piece. So that's why it's so much to chain to begin with, but it's well worth it. I love this piece. So I'm taking a small look at the pattern here. There is a repeat and a method to this madness right here, that works with the pocket shawl once we fold over the pocket. Now I'm going to show you this whole piece from beginning to end on a small swatch. Okay, so let's get right into that so we can learn how to make this all on screen. Okay, so I'm just going to work with this to show you guys the pattern for the larger piece. Now remember, for your larger piece, you're chaining 297, okay? So that's 297. And the multiples for this piece are multiples of 6 plus 3. So that 297 already has the 3 added on to it. And I will put the dimensions for the finished piece with the pockets already folded up in the description box, so you know, going by your height or anything, if you need to add or if you want to take away from that number, and you would just do so by sixes. All right, so I'm not going to chain as much as you because I've already finished my larger piece, and that will be a lot to go back and forth to teach you how to do this. So we're just going to work with a swatch, and I'm just going to be chaining. I'm going to chain 24 plus 3. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 1, 2, and 3. So once we get to the end of our chain, we're not going to be working in that first loop from the hook. Okay, we're not going to be working with the first one. We will be working with into the second one. So into the second loop from the hook, you're just going to place a single crochet, and you're just going to single crochet down your chain. By the time you finish single crocheting all the way down to the end of your chain, you should have 296 single crochets. We only lose one stitch on that turn. So go all the way down your piece, just placing one single crochet in each of your chain from your foundation. So I've gone all the way to the end, and once you get to the end, you're just going to chain one and turn your work. Now the second row is going to be a row of cable stitches. So I'm going to show you how to do the cable. You're going to yarn over and into that first stitch. Now every cable row, we're going to have a double crochet at the beginning in the first stitch and one in the last stitch on every cable row. So the first stitch in our cable row is going to be a double crochet. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to look at the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And in the next 6 stitches, that's where we'll be making our first cable. So we're going to skip the first 3 stitches, and into the 4th one, we're going to make a treble. And that's made by yarning over 2 times, going inside your hole, grabbing your yarn, coming up, yarn over, take off 2, yarn over, take off 2, yarn over, take off 2. Your work should look like this. Yarning over 2 times, we're now going to work in the 5th stitch here, and we're going to go in there and make another treble. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to go into that 6th stitch and we're going to make another treble. And now our work looks like this. So now the stitches that we skipped, we're going to go back into the stitches that we skipped. So we're going to yarn over 2 times, and we're going to go reach behind the 3 that we just made, and we're going to go back to the first stitch that we skipped, and we're going to go in there, and then we're going to make a treble. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to go into the 2nd stitch that we skipped. So we're going to reach in the back and find the 2nd stitch we skipped, and then make our treble. Yarning over 2 more times, we're going to reach behind those 3, and we're going to find the 3rd stitch that we skipped. We're going to go in there, and we're going to make a treble. And now it's going to look like this. Around. All right, so we're going to yarn over 2 times, and we're going to look at the next set of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And working in our next cable over these 6 stitches, we're going to skip the first 3. 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th one, we're going to go in and make a treble. Yarning over 2 times, and the 4th one, we're going to go in and make a treble. Yarning over 2 times, and in the 6th one, we're going to go in and make a treble. And now we have to come back to the 3 that we skipped. So yarning over 2 times, we'll go behind those 3 and go to the first one that we skipped and make our treble. Yarning over 2 more times, reach behind the 3 that we first did and go find the second stitch that we skipped and make a treble there. And yarning over 2 more times, we're going to reach behind those 3 one last time and go in and make a treble in the 3rd stitch that we skipped. Now we'll look at the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to skip the first 3, and in the 4th one, we're going to make a treble. Yarning over 2 more times, we're going to go into the 4th stitch and make a treble. Yarning over again 2 times, we're going to 6th stitch and make a treble. And now yarning over 2 times, we're going to reach in back of those 3 and we're going to find the first stitch that we skipped and we're going to make a treble. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to reach behind this and we're going to find the second stitch we skipped and we're going to make a treble. Yarning over 2 more times, we're going to reach behind and we're going to find the 3rd stitch that we skipped and make a treble. Now we should have 7 stitches left, so we'll go work our next cable over our next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to skip the first 3, and then in the 4th one, we're going to make a treble. And the 5th one. And the 6th one. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to come back around to the ones that we skipped and go into the first one, then the second one, then the 3rd one. So first the first one. And the second one. And the 3rd one. Now on your larger piece, you should have in total 49 cables. These groups of 6, you should have 49 of them in your row. Now we're going to yarn over, and in this last stitch we're going to place our double crochet. And this is how all our cable rows will be done. Double crochet at the beginning, 49 cables down the line, and then a double crochet at the end. Chain 1. We're going to turn our work, and our next row is going to be a row of half doubles in the back loop only. So we're going to yarn over, and into that first stitch we're going to find the back loop, which is basically like going into the middle of that stitch and just going into the one in the back, and we're going to make a half double, and we're going to make half doubles in the back loop only all the way down this whole row. Now when you're working over your cables, remember that the ones that you skipped, when you're working over your rows, just remember that spread your cables out so you have the right order. Okay, this one is first, second, third, and this one is fourth, fifth, and sixth. So they should spread out like that. So when you get to your cable rows, you see how they sit on top of each other. Don't be scared to fan them out so you do not miss any of the stitches, and work in that back loop only. And that's actually going to set your cables more sturdy than what they are when you've just made them. And work this whole row just working in the back loop only, making half doubles. Now on our half double back loop only rows, that last stitch, and we've come to our last stitch here, will be worked through both loops. Okay, the last stitch will be worked through both loops. Chain one and turn our work, and that's how it's looking so far. So your next row is going to be also back loop only, half doubles. So a back loop, half double all down this row. And don't forget, in the last stitch, we're going through both loops. Chain one and turn your work. Now our next 2 rows are going to be half doubles and our back loops only as well. So we'll complete those on our own. Remember to work only in the back loops for your half doubles. And the last stitch is worked into both loops. So do 2 more rows, and we'll have a total of 4 rows of half doubles and the back loop only. All right, and that right there is pretty much how the whole pattern is going to go. Cable, 4 rows of half doubles and the back loop only. Cable, 4 rows and the back loop only of half doubles, and we're going to keep working that out until we end on a cable row, just like we began on a cable row. And we're going to put a row of single crochets on that end. Now every single row is going to have 296 stitches. We will not decrease our stitches or take away or add in any way. Every row should have the same amount of stitches. So our next row will be our cable row for this one. And we start our cable rows with a double crochet. And our cable rows are worked in both loops. Yarning over 2 times. We're going to skip our first 3, 1, 2, 3, and work into the 4th, a treble. And then another treble. And another treble. And then we're going to yarn over and go behind and start in the first stitch in which we skipped and place another treble. And we're going to reach behind and go into the second stitch that we skipped and place another treble. And we're going to go behind those 3 and go into the third stitch in which we skipped. And we're going to keep working our cable out throughout the whole row, working in sets of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going into the 4th one. In the 5th one. And the 6th one. Reaching behind and going into the first stitch that we skipped. And going behind that and working into the second stitch that we skipped. And going behind and working in the third. One, 2, 3, and in the 4th, we start by placing 1 treble, and in the 5th, we place a treble, and in the 6th. Yarning over 2 times, we reach in the back for the first stitch that we skipped. Reaching in the back for the second stitch we skipped. And the third. And here we skip 1, 2, 3 and into the 4th stitch. We place our first treble and the second, and the third. Now we're going to go behind and we're going to find the first stitch we skipped. And the second. And the third. And then the last stitch is going to be a double crochet. And as you see, the cable rows, we're just going to repeat. Now we're going to put 4 half doubles right after this cable row in the back loop only. So we'll chain 1. Turn our work and start those rows from the first stitch, back loop only, half doubles for 4 rows. Now, don't forget that in that last stitch on your half double rows, that last one goes through 2 loops. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now, the next row is back to our cable rows. So we're going to start with a double crochet through both loops in that first stitch. And then we're going to keep working our cables all the way down this row. Skipping 3 and going into the 4th. Then the 5th. Then the 6th. Yarning over 2 times. We're going to reach in the back and go to the first one that we skipped and make a treble. Reach in back and go to the second one that we skipped and make a treble. Reach in back and go to the third one that we skipped and make a treble. And we'll carry that on out to the end of the row, with the last stitch being a double crochet. Okay, I placed my half double at the end of, my double crochet at the end of that row. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work, and now I'll be putting on 4 rows of half doubles in the back loop only, just like we did in this section. Starting with the first stitch right in the back loop. I'm going to do this for 4 rows. Placing the last stitch in both loops and chaining 1 and turning my work. Okay, so now finish that row of half doubles and the back loop only, and now my next row is going to be a cable row. So I have to chain 1, turn my work, and I begin my last cable row. with a double crochet in the first stitch. And then we're going to look at the next 6 stitches, and we're going to skip 3, and in the 4th one place our treble, and the 5th one place our treble, and the 6th one place our treble, and then we're going to come back around behind those stitches, find the first one skipped and place a treble there, find the second one skipped and place a treble there, and find the third one skipped and place a treble there. And we're going to finish our cable stitches for this whole row, ending in a double crochet. Okay, so I've come to my last row of cables. Now we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and our last row is going to be a row of single crochets starting in the first stitch through both loops. Don't forget to space them out so you can make sure you're going through the right one. And we're just going to place single crochets all the way down to the end of the row. And once you get to your last stitch, you're going to cut off and just pull through. And this is what your entire piece should look like, but you just should have massive amounts of this. So single crochet row, double crochet row, double crochet, single crochet row, cable stitch row, 4 rows of half doubles in the back loop only, and then cable, 4 rows of half doubles in the back loop only, cable row, and 4 rows of half doubles in the back loop only, cable row, and then the last row is the row of single crochets. So this is the whole piece, and we're going to make that all the way out. Now once we come to the end, now we have to then fold it over so we can bring in our pockets and our borders for either side. Okay, so we finished making all of our scarf. That section is complete. Now before, let me just move some of it out the way and just get one side. Before we want to go on, when we fold this will fold one on each end, and this will become our pocket. So what I would like to do is I want a ridge top at the top of my pockets. So if you like the just straight edge at the top of your pockets, then this is ready to fold. But we're going to put a ridge edge on this. So I'm going to go through one of the loops on either end, and I'm going to add my yarn there. And I'm going to go into that same spot, and I'm going to make a double crochet. Now we're working on the side of our stitches. So we're just going to nicely place double crochets all the way down this end, just placing them nicely because we don't have already marked places to put them. There is no stitches here. We're actually working on the side of stitches, so you just want to put them in so where they're kind of evenly apart. And as far as placement, the only thing you want to make sure is that you go through 2 loops. So this is it. You're just going to go down this whole edge. And you're going to do this on the opposite side too. And you want to create a row of double crochets. Let me see. So doesn't have to be super perfect. You don't want super gaps. You want to keep them well enough fitted together. And we want to just go all the way to the end of this little short edge. We just want to give our pocket a little something on the top of it. We don't want it to just be blah, it's just there. So we're just going to give it a row of ridge. So when we're done with this, we're going to come back and we're going to do front and back posts, which will give it like a rigid look. I like it. It's going to work out nicely. I think one more right on the end. And there we go. Okay. So we're just going to chain up 1 and we're going to flip this over. And now into this first double crochet at the top, we're going to make another double crochet. Now the second one, we're going to go behind that double crochet, grab our yarn, pull that up, and we're going to make another double crochet, making this a front post. We're going to go in front of the next one. You see that? I'm going to go in front of the next one, pull up, and then make a double crochet, and that pushes that back, makes a back post. So now we want to do front again, so we're going to go behind this double crochet, grab our yarn and make another double crochet, and that pushes it forward. Grab our yarn, we're going to go in front of that one, grab our yarn, come back out and make another double crochet, and you see how that pushes that one back. So we're going to keep doing that, alternating front and back until we get to the end. And it's just going to create a nice effect on the top of our pockets. And because of how the whole overall pattern is worked, and there's no saying this is the front and this is the back side. either side is acceptable and looks great. And that's really what I was looking for when I came in to do this piece. I wanted something that was going to work well on either side, so there was no real true side definition. So when we flipped up our pockets area, everything still blended and worked well. All right, so we are coming up on to our last double crochet. And when you get to the last double crochet in that row, you're just simply going to make another double crochet on top of it. So your last one and your front is just a plain double crochet on top of that other double crochet, and this is what we get, a nice ridge pattern at the top of our pockets. Now we're going to cut our yarn and we're going to go to the other end, and we're going to do the same on the opposite end as this. So ending on the other side, I cut my yarn and I'm just going to pull that right through. So now I have both ends done, and with the ridging at the top for the pockets. So now I'm going to take one end and I want to fold for my pockets. Now I want my pockets to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So where the fifth one is, I want to fold up. So on my pocket side, I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so you see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 cables on our pocket. All right, now we're going to take our yarn, if I can get it from under here, and we're going to add our yarn on and I'm going to go here. Okay, now I have my 5th cable here, so where that 5th cable began is right here. Okay, so that whole cable is 6 stitches. You want to go to the first one in that cable, and that is where you're going to insert your hook. All right, but you want to make sure you get this and get the next stitch over from here. So the first stitch here, and mind you, we have a row of single crochets, but you want to find that single crochet that's attached, put my finger here, attached with that cable, which would be this one, and you want to go to the next stitch over, which is this one, and you want to insert your hook through both of them. Okay, and we're going to add our yarn right here, and we're going to go back in and make a double crochet. Now I want to go into the next single crochet I have here and the next single crochet I have here, and go through both and make a double crochet. So I'm going to go through the next, oh wait, yarn over. I want to go through the next single crochet here on this side and the next single crochet on the front side now, and make a double crochet. Yarn over. I'm going to go through the next single crochet here and the next single crochet here and make a double crochet. And we want to make sure we're not skipping any stitches. So the next one here and the next one here, and we'll make a double crochet. And the next one here and the next one here, and we'll make a double crochet. And the next one here and the next one here, and we'll make a double crochet. So again, we do not want to skip any stitches. Next one here and next one in the front. And we're going to keep going all the way up down to the other end of the pocket, making our double crochets while we're joining our piece. Okay, so we're going to keep going down all the way down until we get to right here, and then I'll show you what to do when you come across that area. Now, before I go any further, now when we come into our area where we've done the ridge, we just want to make sure we catch one whole, that last double crochet. Okay, so we're actually going to catch and go with that whole double crochet. So I want to go through that whole double crochet. I want to wrap around that whole piece. Next one, we're just going to catch that double crochet. So, and that's how it's going to look for this first row of the border, and you see how nicely that lays down. Perfect. So we're going to go all the way down, because once we get past this point right here, there's nothing but the single crochets that we're catching as we go all the way down. So now we're just working in single crochets. So we're going to work down until we get close to our other pocket, and then we'll fold our other pocket up and we'll work down that down that pocket together. Okay, so I've worked all the way down to my other pocket. You see my little small pin, so I have pinned it down, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my cable in my pocket. And remember, we began on that first stitch in that cable at the bottom, and we will end in that stitch as well. So I made sure it was laid down flat, and I made sure I pinned it here so I can catch that right where I'm supposed to. So I'm going to keep my double crochets going, and my single crochets underneath. And as soon as I come up to where those double crochets came into, I'm going to make sure I catch them all. So I'm going to go through the back and make sure I come out in the front into that double crochet area on the side. And I'm going to go in the back and make sure I come out in the double crochet area in the front. And now I am in my single crochet stitches in the back and single crochet stitches in the front. So now we'll just keep closing this with my double crochets. Boop. And again, make sure you do not skip any stitches, making your double crochets through both the front and the back. And that is what's securing down our pocket. I'm just going to keep going down until we get all the way to that last stitch. And remember, what we do on this side is exactly what we're going to be doing on the opposite side. I'm almost to the edge of my pocket. Okay. Remember, this is the last cable in that pocket, and I want to make sure that it lays flat like that. Oops. So you see that last stitch? That last stitch. There's no more stitches after that. All stitches have been used, and that last stitch is folded over. So I caught the very first stitch in that cable. Okay. So that, okay, and again, we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side, but that is how our pockets are going to be held down. And that's beautiful. Let me take this pen out and stick it over here. Use it when I come back over there. So that's how your pockets are going to lay down with that double crochet join right there. Now we're not done with our border. We're going to chain one, and we're going to turn all of this work, and we're going to go back down, and we're going to put the same ridge type that we put here. All right. Now I'm going to put 3 more rows of that on here to give us a total of 4 rows in our border. So out that first stitch in here and the last stitch will both be double crochets right on the top of the double crochet from the previous row. So the first one and the last one, just like we did at the top of our pockets, will be double crochets. Now we'll do our front post by going behind our double crochet and making another double crochet, and then we're going to go behind in front of this one, pushing it back and making our back post, placing our double crochet there. And then we're going to do front by pushing this forward. We're going to go behind it, grab our yarn, pull up, and place a double crochet. And this one, we're going to push it back by going in front of it, grab our yarn, come up, and place a double crochet. Now we're going to continue doing this all the way down this end of our border. So we'll go all the way to the other end where the other pocket is, alternating front and back posts. And in the last stitch, like I said, we'll place just a double crochet. So we'll go all the way to the opposite end doing just this. So I worked all the way back down to the opposite end. And remember, that last stitch is going to be a double crochet. Now I'm going to chain one and turn my work. And this row, starting with the double crochet at the beginning, is just going to carry out the pattern that we just now have established with row 2. So where we have back post, we're going to keep it a back post. Where we have front post, we're going to keep it front posts, again back posts are going to stay. Back posts and front posts are going to stay front posts. And we're going to carry this out to the end of this row and the row beyond it. So the next 2 rows are just going to be keeping up the pattern that we just established on row 2. Back post, stay back post, and front post, stay front post. And we're going to do that for 2 more rows, and then we'll have a total of 4 rows on this side of the border. Okay, so I've finished my 4 rows for my border. Cut my yarn and pull through tight. Now I'm going to move to the opposite side. So now that, let's look at this. Now that we have laid this side down perfectly. Oh, that's so pretty. And you see we have our little border at the top of the pocket. We now need to put down the other side. Now, nothing is going to change from this side to this side. We're still going to be having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains on this side. 5 cable on that side, and we will work into the single crochet that's going through the first, stitch in that one, the 5th one. So let's see, that would be here. So I'm going to go through here, and then I'm going to go through the one right next to it. And that is where my bend is. And that is where we'll start. So we're going to add our yarn on here. And go back in and make a double crochet. And again, we're matching the next single crochet with the next single crochet on the back side. And we're going to do that all the way down this row. And we're going to put this border on exactly like we put the one on the other side. First doing our row of double crochets, and then going back and making front and back posts, and then 2 more rows carrying the front and back posts out. So we're gonna lay and join our pockets with our double crochets just like we did on the other side. Most importantly, just make sure you do not skip any stitches, okay? There are no stitches skipped. Remember, when we come up to this area where we have our rows of border at the top, we just want to make sure we're going through the double crochet here, and we're going through the single crochet in the back. Now here we kind of don't have perfect stitch placement, but we just want to make sure it's laid flush and we go through. So I've made it to the end of that. So again, we joined this in just like we did the other side with the double crochets all the way down. Let me turn it like this, kind of like this, so we can see we're going to do what we did over here. So of course we're going to work all the way down till we get to our next pocket. And now we're here, so we're just working into all of the single crochets. Okay, so I've come to the opposite end and tack down my pocket, making sure I leave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 cables up, and we're going to be going through the 5th one. We're going to make sure we're going to go through the single crochet over top of that last stitch, which is here, and the next stitch. These will be our last stitch, just like how we begin. Okay, so make sure it's laid down flat. I think I pinned it a little high. Yeah. So I'm going to keep going down here with my double crochets. Until I get to where this is laid flat. Again, we don't have a real stitches. We're working on the side of these stitches just right here. So I want to go through the top part of that pocket and just go through the single crochet and the back and make a double crochet. And I'm literally just going through matching up with that single crochet in the back. Then from here on out, we should be matching our single crochets with one another. And I'm going to go through the front and through the back one, adding them together with the double crochets. Mm-hmm. All right, I am coming down to the end. And I want to make sure I matched it right up until the end. I can't go through there anymore. You see, I have ended right where that first stitch began. Okay, and that cable. So once we've gotten there, we're gonna chain one, turn our work, and the first stitch is a double crochet, and then we're going to start our front and back post rows, and we'll do 3 of those just like the opposite side, and we'll come back in and see how that looks once we put our 3 rows of front and back posts on. And remember, don't forget to start each one of the front and back post rows with a double crochet at the beginning, standing on top of the double crochet from the previous rows, and one on the end. Okay? We will not be working front and back posts around that. Okay, so I have totally finished putting the border on both sides. And now you see how we close off our pocket and make our border. So pretty much we're done from here, other than taking a yarn needle and weaving in our ends. So as I was grabbing my yarn needle, I thought I saw these buttons, and they're cute little buttons, and I thought, wow, it'd be really cute to put a button on our pocket. Okay, so I'm going to put a button on my pocket, but then I thought, why not put it here, because I can use one of these loops to feed my button through, probably around here somewhere, feed my button through and have it to be a closed pocket when I want to. So just for fashion purposes, you can place a button on the outside. I think it gives it a nice look. But if you would like to place a button so you can actually close your piece, you just want to fit it. So we only did 2 rows here. You want to fit it so it goes through the first row, kind of in the middle. All right, so I'm going to choose this as my center. I already have a needle and thread ready. So if I'm choosing this as my center, then my button would be placed here. So I'm just going to attach first my my thread onto this yarn area, and then I'm just going to start working in this button. And again, like I said, this is completely optional. I didn't even think about putting a button on here until I was looking for my yarn needle, and I noticed these new wooden buttons I had just sitting there, and I just thought, hey, that would be so nice to put a button on there. And at first I was just going to put the button on the outside, but then why not put it on the outside and give us that option, on the inside, to give us that option to close our pocket if we wanted to. So I'm just gonna feeding this back and through, in and out, to make sure it's secure on there. And I feel as though it is. I like to go behind my buttons and secure it there, and then just weave this in and out right through the bottom. Of that, and then I'm gonna cut that, and let's see how it looks. Put that there. All right, so button there, and these are wide enough apart that I don't have to create a button space for it. It's literally will fit through. So that's me putting a button on the inside so I can close off my pockets if I want to. So I'm going to put one on the opposite side. And again, even if you don't want to put it on this side so you can have a possible closure for your pocket, then you can always place one right there for decorative purposes, and I think it looks really, really nice. As well as I wound up having more of this left, and remember I said I had 3 of this type of yarn that I used. I did 4 rows for the border. I also started to put more there, but I didn't. But just remember, if you want it wider, and remember I will put the length and width in the description box of the finished piece with the pockets folded. And if you want more to it, just add more on your border on each side, making it equal. So the last thing to do, now that we've decided to place a button, would be just to weave in our ends. So you're just going to get your yarn needle, thread your yarn through it, and just feed this, all the loose ends, in and out. A few times, just to make sure that your piece is secure. And I'm doing this probably more times than I normally would, because this is a long extra string that I cut off. All right, and once you secure that, you want to cut it right at the bottom so you don't see it. So weave in your ends. If you like the button idea, you're going to throw your buttons up there, and that's it. So I'm going to throw this on, and let's see how the finished piece looks. All right, you guys, I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I have fun working it with you. I have fun working on this period, and I am so glad that I finally have it done. And there you are, the Doris Pocketed. No-Sew Shawl. And I hope you guys like it. Don't forget to subscribe if you are not subscribed, to comment. I love to hear your comments and your inputs. And like this video if you like this video. You can follow me on all my social media sites. And actually on my next conversation with the corner, I will be gifting away one of these to one of our subscribers. Okay, so if you're not subscribed, subscribe and look out for that conversation on the corner. All right, thank you guys.